Hi YouTubers, Survival Chef here. I have a series of videos in the works which involves canning. These will be upcoming recipes for canning jellies, vegetables, stews, and meats. But first I'd like to go over the basics. You have here before you many of the items that you need to can effective canning. You have your hot water bath for high acid foods. You have your pressure cooker that is suitable for products that you don't hot water bath. You have assorted sizes of mason jars. You have a funnel to put in the mason jars to pour the food in. You have tongs to lift the jars out of hot water baths. You have assorted spatula sizes to get bubbles out of assorted foods. You have canning jars and canning lids that are one use only for the lids. And then you have reusable lids that you can use. You have a washcloth to wipe the lids down. You have labels and a magic marker, and the labels have to have the date in the item that it was processed. You will most likely be using the hot water bath method for most of your general canning, such as tomato product and sauces, and pressure canning for foods containing meats. This can also be variable on your situation with a few standards that are fixed, such as cooking time and temperature, relative to elevation, and time when you intend to use your product. So why can? What is the purpose of canning? Well, for many of you this question may seem a little bit redundant, but for the sake of the people just getting started, I will cover the basics. Canning prolongs the storage life of food. A typical application for canning on a homestead would be to can the extra food that you grow in your garden at harvest and live off of it along with the other food you produce the remainder of the year. Ideally, it would get you through the winter, and you would start the process all over again in the spring. Well, you're asking, how does canning work? Well, canning works in two ways. First, it destroys the food-spoiling germs in the jars, in the food, and the immediate surroundings. And then secondly, it creates an environment that discourages the regrowth of these microorganisms. Microbes come in many forms and types, from protozoa to a subclass called viruses. The types of microbes that we are most concerned with are bacteria and mold. We will refer to these as food-spoiling microbes. Bacteria are classified as prokaryotes, as opposed to most life forms being eukaryotic. Prokaryotes differ from eukaryotic life forms in that they do not have a cellular nucleus. Bacteria are further broken down in categories called gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. Gram-positive bacteria have a thicker outer cell wall called a peptidoglycan layer than gram-negative bacteria. Bacteria can be anaerobic and aerobic, meaning to live with or without O2. Molds are a eukaryotic life form. Mold cells resemble our own human cell structure in that it has a well-defined nucleus. Food-spoiling microbes destroy food by the processes of their own metabolism. Microbes metabolize food into the energy in which they use to grow and reproduce. They in turn leave behind the byproducts of their metabolism, which are unused materials and waste products. We see this as spoiled food. Botulism is an example of a toxin excreted by a microbe, Clostridium botulinum, in the form of an exotoxin, as opposed to endotoxins, which are excreted by cell membrane rupture. These gram-positive bacteria are anaerobic and can be present in home canned foods not properly made. Canning destroys microbes and discourages regrowths in these ways. Number 1. Sterilization. Cleaning and boiling destroys food-spoiling microbes.
Number 2, boil all tools that will have any contact with food for 2 to 4 minutes. Then there is the food itself. Cooking the food kills the food-spoiling microbes found in the food. The food itself can discourage regrowth of microbes. Foods high in salt and sugars create a hypertonic environment, which inhibits microbial growth by exerting changes in osmotic pressure against the bacterial cell wall. This forces a fluid exchange from inside the cell to outside, therefore separating the cell membrane from the overlying cell. Most bacteria are adapted to grow at the pH range of 6.7 to 7.5. Foods that are high in acid inhibit bacteria growth by slowing their metabolic process. Pressure canning destroys resistant microbes that are not initially killed by cooking and boiling. By increasing the pressure in the immediate environment, you can change the boiling point of water. Pressure canning at a temperature of 240 to 250 degrees for 3 or more minutes can destroy the botulism-causing bacteria.